What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you all. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. I'm Midnight Hatter. Welcome to the stream. Joining me again this week is Adam Blue of Gundam Explained. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. I enjoy having you on, having somebody to bounce ideas off of and monitor the chat while I'm making a mess on my desk.
I agree. I also, yeah, prefer having another person to talk to. Sometimes going solo for so long, you learn to like talk to yourself a lot, but it's more entertaining with another person for sure.
Yeah, it can get lonely out there being a lone wolf content creator. But yeah, you just dropped a new video this morning. I think one that
Right.
everyone's been excited about because, as I mentioned last week, you're working your way through an 8th MS team viewing, and we've finally
Right.
gotten to that. Basically, if anybody says that 8th MS team is their favorite Gundam series, it's because of this episode, right?
Yeah. I mean, just getting to see some cool designed mobile suits and then the animation that is in this. I mean, there's a lot of elements that make it cool other than the mobile suits and the fighting, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely cool.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, I definitely recommend. I guess after the stream, please, wait till after the stream, but definitely go to YouTube Gundam Explained and check out the latest video where Adam goes over the Shuddering Mountain episode one, part one, I guess, of
Yep.
the two part.
Part one. Yeah.
Uh, but it covers that epic '90s crisp animation of Goof versus Easy Eight.
Yep, that's right.
Cool,
Now, let
cool.
me ask you. You said goof, and I was saying goof. Is it really pronounced because it has that U in there?
I it's one of those tomato situations. A lot of my pronunciation comes from watching English dubs,
Ah,
and
yeah.
and then even
That's a good
even
point.
then a lot of the time they don't say the names of most of the mobile suits, so you're kind of left in the dark. You just have to guess.
Yeah, that's kind of been an interesting part of getting into Gundam is doing these videos, not knowing how to pronounce something, and sometimes chat will help or comments will help. But yeah, that's a whole new world.
Yeah. Well, and I always like when I see people mispronouncing something because to me it says that they read it as opposed to watch someone say it. I'm like, if you mispronounce something, it's because you saw it in text and you didn't have like the vocal cue.
Right. A lot of times, if you hear it repeated enough, it stays in your head. But yeah, a lot of times, especially with Gundam, I prefer the dub,
Hmm.
but then I always go back and watch with subtitles, because I'm trying to like really soak in everything. So I think a lot of times my mind is spelling what I saw,
Right.
and it gets it wrong. Yeah.
No, I'm happy to be corrected myself. So cool,
Oh yeah,
cool.
same here. That's what I like learning about the stuff.
Exactly. That's the fun of the hobby.
Yep.
So tonight I have plans to play a little Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn. Are you familiar with the game?
Only because like Gundam in video games. And but I saw that it was only on PS3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I still have my 360, but I don't have a PS3, and it seems like that's one of many good games, Gundam
Yeah.
games on PS3.
I would definitely recommend getting a PS3, if only for the Gundam game library, because that's where
I
you'll find most of the good stuff.
Yeah, and I used to have the 60 gigabyte backwards compatible one, the full, and this is back. I don't know how long it's been, maybe 4 or 5 years. I purged my entire physical gaming library. I mean, I was able to pay off all my debt with what I got.
Then
Eventually, was able to save to move into my house. So I think it was for good.
yeah,
But
worth
um,
it, worth it. But yes, it
and
does
I
pain
actually
my
I
heart a little bit.
no, well, that's the thing. I don't really miss the stuff too much, but I
Yeah,
will say I miss more of that later stuff like PS3, where it's harder to play those games any other way, even emulation. So,
yeah, it's
um,
true.
not having a PS3, I think, is the biggest loss.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get into the stream in chief, I do have a couple of quick announcements that I'd like to share if you'll bear with me. Um, I have finally had my arm twisted enough and caved into the peer pressure of creating some options to financially support the channel and the work that I'm doing here, as Midnight Hatter. So, starting today, live now at patreon.com/Midnight Hatter, midnighthatter.locals.com, and as soon as the YouTube emojis are approved, I have YouTube memberships available as well. And the way that I've created this, obviously, do not feel under any pressure to financially support the channel. All the content that I make is still going to be free and accessible to everyone, especially all of the Gundam 5e content. None of that stuff is going to change. None of that is going anywhere. This just gives people the opportunity to kind of help foster my content creation independence, and also gives you a way to vote with your dollar, because the way I've structured it is in Patreon tiers, the amount that you contribute is all the same, but you get to pick the perks that you get associated with it. And so there's a couple of little bonus options that you'll be able to get. Everyone will get access to a special Discord chat and a, sort of a monthly voice chat that I'll do with everybody. But you also get to choose whether you want to support the sort of 3D printing side of things, and you get, a free STL every month, or if you want to support the video game side of things, and you get a free Unity script every month. So you really get to not only choose the perks that you get, but also kind of help vote with your dollar and tell me what kind of content you want to see more of. So, again, don't feel any pressure to support the channel in that particular way, but if you do feel so inclined, I really appreciate it. And again, it will help, motivate me to create more of this content and more games for everyone to enjoy. So, with that out of the way, that little, self-promotion, we can hop into the stream proper. I will switch us over to... Oh, see, and now we got the chat on screen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll switch us over to this layout where you can see the PS3 feed and got Adam and I.
Nice. And that's your new logo.
Yes, yeah, that's the other part of this is new branding across all the platforms, new logo design, which I'm curious to see what people will get from it, because I kind of threw it out there as a little feeler to see what people thought of it, and people told me different things, and I kind of like that. I think that it's a combination of things that I love and am motivated by.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what is the part that's below the trifin? I guess I would call that the...
Oh yeah, so it's sort of the wings below there.
Right.
So
I see. Yeah.
The design came from sort of a. So I'm designing a tabletop, board game / RPG, and the game mechanic itself relies on custom-made dice, and so I've been 3D printing those dice, and so I wanted to design, unique, not logos per se, but symbols that would represent, attack and defense, or in this case, it's action versus reaction. So the action dice design is supposed to be like a sword with wings, and that's what this originally was supposed to represent. But as I started toying with it, I was like, that kind of looks like a Gundam V-fin. And at the time, it also did not have the eyes there in the middle. It was just, gaps where that was. And I thought, it kind of reminds me of the Hylian shield design from Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yeah.
So you combine that, my favorite color being purple. You've got this sort of Gundam-y, Zelda-y design that I think really encapsulates everything that I enjoy, everything that I, am inspired by to create. So I thought it was pretty sweet.
I think that was a cool idea of like kind of taking things you like and putting it together, but it stands out. I think that the three main colors really work well together, and I mean that's easy merch bait right there. I mean that would be cool to have a shirt with that on it, Like,
see, now that's the next step, is I need to design some new shirts.
Yeah, no, that is cool.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, hey, cheers. Wait, Pyro, you're a patron now? Well, you were already a Twitch subscriber, so you already had access to the secret Discord chat. But I'm glad that you mentioned that it does look like an owl. The other people said that it looks like an owl, and that I was like, well, Midnight Hatter, late night, night owl,
Hmm.
that works too.
Yeah.
So it all kind of ties in together with the sort of branding identity that I was going for. But yeah, I appreciate your words about it, and I hope that I can stick with it. It's definitely a lot more unique than the little D20 logo that I had been using for so long.
And that was cool too. And were you wanting to get away from that so it's less specific?
Yeah, definitely less of the restriction to just tabletop stuff, and kind of broaden the horizons out into video games and 3D printing and all of the different sort of content that I make.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff, man.
Sweet. Well, I hope that you will enjoy watching along, and I'll definitely have you vote on which mobile suit I pilot here.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that would be good. I haven't played this. Now, so so let me ask you, um, does it play like other Dynasty Warriors?
it does. So yeah, if you're familiar with any of the Dynasty Warriors series or Samurai Warriors, all of those Koei games, same deal.
You know what? I've never really fully gotten into any of them except for Hyrule Warriors. I like the controls on that.
Yeah,
They kind of added more of that lock-on type mechanism for like main bad guys, and I think that lent to more dynamic action.
yeah. It feels more like a Zelda game, right? Where you can.
Yeah, good way to put it. There was another one that they developed recently, and I thought it was pretty good. Was it
Here,
Dragon
come up and say
Quest
hi.
Warriors? Did they do a Dragon Quest Warriors or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. I don't know
I
if
want
you
to
guys
say
can see my dog.
they did, and it was yeah, it was pretty good in the way that Zelda was a little bit unique compared to the rest of the Dynasty Warriors formula,
Yeah,
and this was too.
I never played Dragon Quest, so I wouldn't know how they kind of work it in. I do know that one of my favorite sort of clone type games, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before. Onimusha Blade Warriors on the PS2 was a Smash clone that was all of the characters from the Onimusha series. So that was awesome. I loved that game. You could play as Jubei Yagyu, and
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've played
yeah,
Onimusha, but I never played that.
yeah, and I mean, you're not missing too much. It really was just a Smash clone that had like a couple of quirky bonus characters because it was a Capcom game. You had to have Mega Man in there.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that is cool.
Um, did
What about
you
Chris Redfield?
no Chris Redfield in that one? I think that might have been around the time that Resident Evil 4 came out. So it
Oh,
probably would
Leon
have
would have
been
been the.
Leon if they
Okay,
had put
yeah.
him in, which it wouldn't have been out of the realm of possibility because they did have, um, if you remember, Onimusha 3 had who's that actor?
Oh yeah.
Um, Jean
The
Reno.
guy that was in Leon the Professional.
Yeah. And so you did have gun wielding characters in that game.
Yeah.
So let's see. I've cleared a lot of the ultimate mode, or do you want to go story mode? I mean, it's
Yeah. So in this, there's a campaign. Then, like you choose story mode, and you can kind of go through the normal Gundam storyline.
yeah. So it's gonna keep trying to ask me to sign in using my old college ID. um,
Uh,
so you have the story mode, which kind of covers a few of the main series: Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Char's Counterattack, Unicorn, Seed, and Seed Destiny. But then you have the ultimate mode, which is kind of like your crazy scenarios where, what if Jared from the Titans and Wu Fei team up with Master Asia and, fight
oh,
against
from
Amuro.
the other Gundam series. Oh, okay.
Yeah, mash it all up.
I'll go with either whatever you're currently working on, or whatever you want to show off? What do
Um,
you think is like the most exciting level or something?
ooh. So
I gotta
then
say, I like the presentation and the graphics. This looks like a high quality, high production
it is
Gundam.
a very um it is kind of ahead of its time. I remember I actually have a couple of the rips like from this game, and there's a lot of like LOD variations. So you have like the low poly mobile suits for when you're far away, but then as you get closer, it'll swap out the meshes for
Oh,
the more detailed
yeah,
meshes and things like that. So it actually employed a lot of, and I guess you have to when you have hundreds of mobile suits on screen at once.
yeah, which is awesome.
So let's
Yeah, because I
see.
did play the what was it, the first one on Xbox 360, and it's all right. It's a little bare bones and simple.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
But I
this
mean,
looks
it's been good.
good.
This
What are you drinking
series.
there?
Uh, just a little of my normal bourbon. I don't. I do have a bottle of my go-to, which is Legend, which is a perfect bourbon for me. It's a little on the sweet side, a little warm in the mouth. It's a Kentucky bourbon that's aged in Japanese sherry wine casks. So it's like a
Wow.
collaboration between a Kentucky distillery and a Japanese winemaker. So it's perfect for an American weeb like myself, kind of blending those two worlds.
Yeah, it's sophisticated.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it sounds good. I honestly, I just have a Lacroix. This is a Pamplemousse. Pamplemousse? I don't think I've ever seen that
Is that
before.
grapefruit?
That might be what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I don't speak French. It's one of the few languages I have no experience
Oh.
in.
Oh.
Um. All right. So let's see. I already see people saying that I should clear this while playing as Big Zam. Um.
It's awesome you could do that.
Yeah. Well, there's some big contenders in here. I'm having a hard time seeing the menus, so I'm like squinting at the screen. Um. Which, for the record, like the chat overlay that you see on the stream, like I'm
Yeah.
seeing it too. So
Oh wow.
so I'm like kind of playing through the chat, which at least I'm paying attention to it.
Yeah. No, that would be a real Souls-like experience if you were like playing Elden Ring, like with active chat.
uh
Um. Yeah, I don't know what. I guess what is it you're gonna go for? A story mission or just a random mission?
so this is one of the ultimate mode missions. It is called one suit, or it's one pilot 10,000 suits. So the objective is to take out 10,000 enemy units, which is obviously supremely unrealistic in the world of Gundam, but in the world of Dynasty Warriors, that's
Yeah.
pretty easily done.
Yeah. So would you then purposely pick a certain suit for this, or do they all kind of form with the same end result?
So my personal favorite to go with is always the Queen Mansa or the Queen Mantha, um,
Okay.
being the size of the Psycho Gundam Mark II, but also having the access to 30 funnels and just
Oh
being a
yeah.
massive destroyer is awesome. I
And
see people
now
calling for
where we're
GOG in the
seeing
chat.
that, where we're seeing that yellow, is that like where you've upgraded it?
Yes, yeah. So you've got your base
Oh,
stats, and then you've got you have the ability to customize suits, add some extra parts that'll boost particular performance. Uh, it doesn't make a lot of sense to boost your ranged attack since range combat in the Dynasty Warriors series is kind of a non-starter.
okay.
And then of course, this is probably the biggest pain is the fact that when you have a particular pilot that you're using, they are limited to only suits that they used in lore or suits that you've
Hmm.
unlocked for everybody by playing as them. So, for instance,
That's cool.
yeah, I mean it can be cool. It can be frustrating when you know, are playing as Slegger and the only thing you can use is a core fighter.
Oh, so you can use a core fighter in this.
I think he's limited to a GM. I don't think you can
Oh,
use
okay.
the core fighter. You can use the ball, which I'm sure if Pyro's in chat, he's already telling me to use the ball because I'm a coward.
Yeah, that's right. I did see someone saying GOG, um, Buster Gundam.
I see calls for
What's
Psycho Gundam Mark II, Strike Freedom.
and use Rambaral as a pilot.
We can use Rambaral.
That's cool. Yeah, speaking of him, he's the same voice actor as Norris Packard.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
That was a unique bit of trivia that I learned from you today. Was
yeah.
um
It's just that voice actor. I feel like I've heard him in everything. And so I
yeah,
was like, okay, I got to find out who this guy is. And I couldn't recognize most of the things, but I think maybe it's like side characters that he does a lot of. So that
right. Yeah, well,
that is
he
weird.
typically goes for that grizzled veteran sound, right?
Yep.
Yep. Um, all right, so let's see what mobile suits Rambaral has access to, and then that'll kind of inform our decision here. So naturally, the Goof, he's got access to a lot of the mass production type suits. Zaku tank.
That's cool.
What do I have seed wise that I could use? A Zaku warrior or a Wyndham? I'm not as familiar with some of these seed suits. Doesn't look like they're. Oh, yeah, that's still seed. Ball and Zaku tank are the jobbers. Yes, exactly. Well, let's hop into it using.
Oh, did I see they had Victory Gundam?
What was that in there?
Oh, but it's only
Yes.
but just the one.
So
Oh, okay.
I
Who,
haven't
who's got it
unlocked
from
the
the
Victory
series?
Gundam for Rambaral yet. So
Oh, that's cool. But that's cool that it has that series in here.
yeah, that's a rare video game appearance for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I could have sworn that I unlocked the Psycho Gundam, but
Oh man,
well,
just looking at this makes me want. I mean, I've been shopping around for a PS3. I'm gonna have to drop upwards to 200, really. I think if I'm gonna get a decent one.
yeah. I
But the
mean,
games
if you
are
want the
not
backwards
expensive.
compatible one, then yeah, for sure.
See, and that's what I was looking at. I was like a PS3 60 gigabyte one,
Mm-hmm.
or to get a standard one, but I would want a PS2, and then I would get like a Japanese PS2 or something to play the imports. And I used to have one. I used to have a Japanese PS2. I even had the Thunder Force 5 that I think was just on in Japan. And yeah, I sold everything,
Oh man.
but I don't regret it. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's skip this and go right into the action. We've been playing
And
around long enough in the menus here. What's that?
but that animation looked pretty good. Is that exclusively for the game?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they use you know, those little sprites and
Yeah.
to convey the story. And there's also
Cool.
some fantastic music in these games. It's
Mhm.
very Gundam sounding without being official Gundam music, which I think is
Oh,
really cool.
okay. Wow, yeah, this does look great, man. I'm impressed with those graphics. Um,
So I thought
sorry,
it'd
when
be
this
cool to use the little Dendrobium Orcus here.
That's awesome.
I feel like I have a button pressed down or something because I keep using. I swear I'm not hitting the. I'm not spamming the special attack buttons, and yet all he's doing are special attacks.
This looks great.
Yeah, it can be a little chaotic on screen, but you know, I think that that's most Gundam games. I mean, you played Gundam Breaker, right?
Yeah,
And it there
yeah.
Gundam Breaker can get real distracting with everything going on screen.
Yeah, and I even think that has some pretty good graphics also, but there's something to where there's like no limit in the scenario I'm in terms of canon. Like if it could be any suit and I'm fighting any suit and there's big ones and small ones, I feel like there's less of a role I'm playing in completing the mission. You know what I mean? It's like that with those robot, oh, what? The super robot games
Yep.
where they'll have these missions and everyone's combining from different periods and it's like but okay, but I, and I think it was the Maxi Boost On game that they have that you can actually create the scenario. So I can make it where I'm the GPO 1 versus the GPO 2 on that specific level from 0083, and then even play the music, choose the music it plays.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
you know.
Oh, there she is. Hi,
Oh,
Cinderella.
there's Doggy. Yeah, there's something about it's probably a condition I have. Where it's almost like with canon, where I like to do things the way they're kind of meant to be.
Yeah,
And I
I'm kind of
probably
with you
miss
on
out on
that.
some fun.
No, and when I created the Gundam 5e original game, my I was very particular about scenarios when I create them, not interacting with main story characters, things like that, not tampering. I think that the video game Gundam Side Stories does a really good job of saying like, hey, look, the Marcosius team was at Abawaku, but they weren't
Yep.
involved with the fight between Char and Amuro. They were doing something completely different. And I think that that's
Yeah.
cool. That's a cool way of working in your own story without affecting the existing canon.
Yeah, that's what's been cool about the video games, and it's even because I've just been learning this by going through the stories of them. But even Code Fairy, a recent one, does the same thing. Within the
Exactly.
universe, it's able to take aspects without messing things up. Kinda. I mean, some of the suits are pretty advanced, but they can explain their way out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games have like a loose story associated with like, the characters being pulled out of their own world and thrown into this, kind of battle world where they interact with characters from other series. But it is obviously non-canon. There's no there's no
Yeah.
mental gymnastics that'll get you to accept that some of this stuff happens.
Yeah. Okay,
um,
so you just beat a level, and you get stuff you can upgrade, I guess, if you wanted to.
Yep, this is you. It's very similar to Gundam Breaker in this regard, where you kind of unlock parts for your mobile suits. You've got legs, you've got arms. Um, they call them blueprints in this particular game, where sometimes your blueprints will be multiple body parts all in one go. Some of them will just be an arm or a leg, and you can kind of combine them, swap them, and get different effects from them.
Hmm. But do they will it still like look the same when you're looking at the model?
Yeah, yeah. You're not going to get any
Which
visual changes,
I'm
but
I'm fine with that.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, that's kind of like how most old school games did it, right? Is it's like,
Yeah. It depends. Like if I'm playing something like Elden Ring, there's not something I'm adhering to, so sure I could wear whatever. With a Gundam game, I like the idea of upgrading the mobile suit but keeping it the way it looks because it's cool
yeah.
about it.
Well, and especially in video games where you can customize the looks of your character. I like it when you can apply dyes or whatever and change the color scheme to match what you've got going on. There's nothing more frustrating than when you're watching a cutscene and you have your character that's got mismatching armor pieces, and
Yeah.
it makes for some good memes. But
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. Echo was. I like that whole uh elite unit thing. And they had those tanks, the Lottos. I don't know how you pronounce them
yeah,
specific, but they transform, but they're awesome.
and that's actually a cool, if you're into customizing Gunpla, the Loto 2 pack is a good way to go because you get two. of these, tank transforming mobile suits in one package.
I know I've been eyeing it, and it's not expensive, and I just keep every time I'm gonna buy a Gunpla, it's like, well, I need to stick with my plan for now. It's Advance of Zeta stuff, so
Okay. So yeah,
I'm
I
like,
saw
I'm
that
still on that gun.
I saw that you got your hands on what was the latest one that you got? Was it
Yeah, what was that one called? I totally forgot, but it should be here tomorrow.
awesome?
Um, yeah, I'd have to look that up. It's because there's a whole handful of them. I don't want to give away the secret. They're on Amazon. There's a whole handful of them, and I'm like, oh, I can just there's each have like 5 to 15, so it's not like they're unlimited or whatever. But
Yeah.
I went through, and then I think one of them that was 99 normal, it had used for 50, and I'm like, what does used mean? And it said the package is damaged, but it has all accessories. So
That's pretty cool.
is it going to be built? Is it for 50? I'm willing to take the gamble, because if I get it built, I still want it to display, and I'll
Yeah,
probably tweak it and clean it up.
absolutely. I was so I've only seen a couple of things on Amazon that I was disappointed in, I want to say. Um, I did see someone selling the 1/1700th scale Dendrobium Orcus, so that GPO3.
Yeah.
They had it priced at like $400, which is what the high grade 1 to 1/44th scale one goes for, like on eBay. And
Uh,
it's like I don't feel, I'm not super anti scammer or something, but it's one of those things where it's like I always feel bad because in my head I imagine like some grandma who's buying a model kit for her grandkid, and it's like, you know that's the type of person that would fall for that scam, right?
yeah, I guess if someone wants it really bad and they haven't really done enough research or don't know how to do the research. There's this robot spirits thing I've been wanting forever, and I might have mentioned it before on our previous show or whatever. It's the hanger white base hanger deck, and there's three of them,
Yeah.
and one of them it's always $200 or past that, and I'm like, I can't do it. Well, I happened to see one on eBay that was local for 150, and I was like, no, that's the lowest I'll probably ever see that, even though I cannot believe I'm gonna spend 150 on this. But it comes with a gun tank, it comes with a core fighter, and it's a corner piece to the hanger, and I have a whole bunch of hangers already, so
That's so awesome. Yeah, I mean,
I like the scale of that. Fighting the big Zam.
yeah. So
Is that
the
what that is? Yeah.
what's very cool about the when you're fighting sort of mobile armors is that they break them down into parts where it's like you can damage individual limbs, and so with this limb damage system, you can kind of cripple the mobile suit in ways. It really plays into if you are up against, say, the Destroy Gundam from Gundam Seed.
Yeah.
If you destroy the backpack of that mobile suit, it can't use that, its special attack anymore, which is pretty cool.
Okay. That's the kind of depth need, at least. I need in a Warriors game.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like I say,
exactly.
I've played them, the standard ones. It's really hard for me for it to keep my attention. But Hyrule Warriors,
Well, because they really are
using
button mashy, they're not, there's not a whole lot of skill that goes into them, obviously.
the other one that I'm thinking of, and they scaled back on the Warrior stuff a little bit, is the Fist of the North Star, Ends Rage,
Oh, I have
because
not
that's
played
actually
that.
the music I use at the beginning of my streams,
Oh, that's
because
awesome.
they really just copied some bands and made some metal music, so there's no copyright strike on it. So I'm
Exactly.
using it in, but the game is great. I've played through the first one multiple times, um, and they have a sequel. I haven't finished it yet, but and it's on PS3, so you should definitely play that. It is fun because it's all melee, obviously, and you're the dude. You can be other characters too, but there's a combo system that you upgrade it as you go. So it's like if they took Dynasty Warriors, scaled it down just a bit so they can focus on the combat.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, when you're playing Dynasty Warriors games, it's really just hack and slash. It's a lot like Devil May Cry, but without the reward system of Devil May Cry,
Yeah.
where you get points for chaining together combos. You know.
Right.
So yeah, we've got a Big Zam, a Destroy Gundam, and the Psycho Gundam Mark II all in one go here.
And I gotta say again, like either it's just because I'm watching the stream and so it puts a Vaseline lens over it, but the graphics just look really good. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that
More than I figured.
the textures are really fantastic in this game for sure. Oh man, did I? I guess technically I won, but it was a time limit. So
Oh yeah, that's a cool model. Yeah, and so I think I saw a video of yours where you were showing a Zaku too, that you were making possibly in Blender or maybe another 3D program.
yeah, I
You
was
did that
using
by
Blender.
hand, and
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what I use a lot of game rips, you know, as the base models, and then kind of expand on them and stuff. Because a lot of times when you get the game rips, it's, you know, you're unrigged. There's nothing to it at all. So the most of the work comes in sort of after the fact, where you have to create the rig to animate it. And I would create a rig even if I were just posing it, because, you know, for instance, if I were to 3D print some miniatures of mobile suits, which I've done that a little bit in the past. Again, you know, not to push the Patreon too hard, but that's probably going to be what most of my STLs are going to be, are, you know, miniature mobile suits to print, or gunpla parts, which
it's an excellent idea though. That is literal value
yeah.
when it comes to like Patreon. Like sometimes people are just creating videos, so sometimes like, well, what value can I give? But yours has a lot more context to it, really. I mean,
I hope so. I mean, and
yeah,
they're things that I'm creating anyway, and I'm gonna kind of create videos around them and how to make them, how to do those types of things. There go the dogs. My wife must be home, but you know, because I'm gonna be using these sort of 3D printed models for my own purposes, and I think that, you know, I've done some tutorial videos about how to do some weight painting when you're rigging in Blender. A lot of the things that, you know, when you use sort of automatic weight painting for Blender, it's designed for organic materials, right? So like when your shoulder moves, you expect all of the parts of your shoulder to kind of move equally. Uh-oh.
I'm still here. Sorry.
I thought you were in a nightclub or something.
No, that's happened before. It's when you're on Amazon and you buy the cheapest light. You sort by customer reviews, but then you look at the cheapest of the customer reviews, and it's like,
Oh.
look, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this full time. Let's just buy something cheap.
You and me both, for sure. Yeah, my little light setup is all like USB powered, and
And what did you say that your 3D printer was?
so I am currently using an Elegoo Mars 2.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had done research when I was figuring out what to do. I ended up going with an Ender 3, only because I wanted to see how much I could get into it, knowing it's not going to be resin or anything.
But the Ender 3 was on my list of considered options. As far as I know, and you can kind of correct me on this if this is your experience or not, but
Yeah,
it seems to me like filament printers are ideal for larger scale items, things like cosplay items.
exactly.
Whereas, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that or quick, functional objects. Like
Okay.
if I needed to repair something and I need to quickly print a hinge for something, or some sort of frame or device for like holding things up. I really can't think of a specific thing, but yeah, when I used mine, the Ender 3, I noticed real quickly, I would need to get that other style like that you have if I wanted to do little figures and stuff. Because with the filament, you are getting those lines no matter what, unless you wanted to sand it. But then there's all that time doing that. The coolest thing I did, and I'll have to send you a picture of it, is I made a 12-inch gold Megazord, fully articulated.
Oh, wow.
Um, Someone already had the STL out there, so I just grabbed it and printed it myself. I loved it. Like it was fun having to before I'm staging it in the slicer or whatever. I'm like figuring out, okay, I can print all of these on one go, and then how to set it up so I don't want to have to redo it. That's another thing. Like if you mess up the print and then you got to redo it, but
Yeah, and
yeah, eventually
I've
got
gone
it all
through a
built.
lot of failed prints.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's fun though. It's like teaching as you go, and
Oh, sorry about the
and then
dogs.
for a while I did like scene dioramas. I remember I did like a dumpster from an alley, and then I did trash cans, and but I think I did enough to for me personally to be like, okay, I've experienced it, and I haven't printed since. I like it, but I don't think I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the idea of, functional items. I definitely made the mistake of trying to print several sort of functional items on my Elegoo Mars that, obviously resin printer was not cut out for. Things like I once tried to print a small microphone stand. That thing crumbled.
Oh wow.
I have tried to print, some of those tiny, iPhone amplifier slash phone holders.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a lot of those things on Thingiverse, and you
Yeah.
have there's so many great options for free STLs if you're just looking to sort of test out what your 3D printer can do, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, functional items, a resin printer is not the way to go for that.
Okay. So
Um, it
yeah, I guess
is.
to get the full experience out of 3D printing, then someone would either have all different types, or it's one of those cases where there's a specific type of item that you're using, so you would get one over the other. And I'm sure there's other types of materials that you could 3D print that wouldn't be for either um, figures or functions, some other thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that I've not really gotten into testing quite yet is, I last week when we streamed, I mixed that pigment powder to create the glow
Oh
in the
yeah.
dark parts, and that I was using just 2-part epoxy resin, but I've never tried mixing that into 3D print resin, or
Oh.
I suppose I should say I haven't tried it yet. um, so I think it would be interesting to, you know, since I also mentioned last week that that diorama that I was considering doing of the final battle Operation Maelstrom from Zeta Gundam, where they're fighting inside the colony laser. It might be an
Oh yeah.
interesting experiment to 3D print those columns using resin that has been mixed with the glow in the dark powder, that kind of so that you get those light columns inside the laser.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fun. I think the last main thing I made was you see these online a lot. I think it's usually sold by third parties. They're like the there's a name for it, like the hanger backgrounds,
Oh,
chain bases.
yes.
I think they come. Yeah, there's an STL where and I printed a whole bunch of them and
Oh, I bet
glued
that
them
looks
together.
awesome.
Yeah, I spray painted it. It was pretty cool for background. I would need to take my time more if I wanted to make it look really good and all that. But
I would love see, and again, that's one of those things where I think scenery, you're going to get better on a filament printer, and I think John Gavin in chat here even also says tabletop terrain, where details aren't too much of a focus. I agree with that. The build plate on my printer was actually not large enough to print those chain base STLs.
ah,
So I would have to print them in parts and then like attach them together. But a
yeah,
buddy of mine actually mentioned what would be a good idea if you're into sort of the Gunpla 3D printing and creating sort of scenery and backdrops is, he was like, well, you can get a sheet of plot plate for a lot cheaper than printing out an entire background. So why not just 3D print the sort of greebles and the little detailed parts and then glue them onto just a plastic plate? And that way you get, you know,
That is a good idea.
it's a little bit more bang for your buck. So shout out to Antonio for recommending that to me.
Oh yeah, that is a good idea. And I see Robert in the chat talking about showing his art.
The art, the
Yeah,
art.
hopefully we'll get to that, Robert. It was kind of you to send all that art, but it was a lot.
It's, yeah, definitely a lot to digest for sure.
Yeah, yeah, because I did show some off on an earlier stream. But yeah, haven't got to the rest of it. Haven't got to the rest of it. Just so I can let you know, Robert, so you're not spamming the chat.
Sweet. Well, let's see what we can do with this destroy Gundam while we're here. I probably have enough time for one more quick little battle, and but yeah, I'm glad you actually, yeah, you just reminded me. I probably need to hop on to newtype.us because I saw that they got those Mega House Argama sort of wall shelves. Well, wall shelf. It's the Argama hanger, like the launch pad. And I've always wanted one. They're only about $130 on there, so hopefully they don't sell out before I get a chance to get my hands on one. But
Let me check because I was looking for that and it was like 200 plus.
oh,
I
yeah,
could have been looking somewhere. Um, let me see if I can find that. Oh yeah, I'm seeing. Wow, Galactic Toys has it for 114.
that's not bad.
Pre-order for September 2022. So I think what happened was there was it has already come out,
Right,
and then I think it was just hard to come across, and so secondhand prices were going up, or just
exactly.
the rest of the stock, the prices were going up, but it probably got popular enough. Yeah, they're doing that second release.
Yeah, a little second printing. Because I
I'm,
mean
I'm definitely gonna get that.
that might
That
be
is
cool to put back here.
no.
I did put up a map of Corvair. My wife was teasing me the last time that we streamed together. She said that I look like a serial killer with these
Oh
plain
yeah,
plain white walls
nothing behind
behind
you.
me. So I
And
put
what is
up.
that a map of?
It is a map of Corvair, which is the continent. So it's a Dungeons and Dragons thing. My favorite setting to play in Dungeons and Dragons is a world called Eberron. That is the map of the main continent of Eberron, which um, is a very cool story. Honestly, whenever I run D&D campaigns, they're always set in Eberron, and I've definitely stolen a lot of the lore. Well, not the lore per se, but a lot of the things that make it trademark Eberron. What makes it unique among sort of most sort of sword and sorcery fantasy stuff is that it is the term that is used most often is they call it arcana punk. So everything sort of exists in a, it's kind of like steampunk Victorian age fantasy, but the explanation behind it is not the sort of steam powered technology, but instead they use magic.
Spells and stuff.
Exactly. So it's like you have things like washing machines, but your washing machine is just like a water sprite that's trapped inside of a jar that you release on your clothes, kind of thing.
That's
It's
interesting. I like that.
it's very Flintstones esque.
I like it when you can take an idea and add punk to it, cyberpunk, and that works.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
steampunk. Something I don't know if it exists actually. Necropunk. What
I'm.
would that be?
That would be cool.
Necropunk. It's just where everything is like looks like a black metal band. With the everyone's all like dead or zombie like everything. Yeah, so like maybe I don't know. You go to the gas station. I don't know how to come up with an example. I don't even know what this is, but there would be like zombies running everything, or the dead. Yeah, it's something to do with the dead where people are alive, but they're kind of looked down upon,
Yeah,
but not in a violent way, more of a pity way.
kind of like
And so, when,
like the ghouls from the Fallout universe, where it's like,
I don't know that.
oh, have you not played any of the Fallout games?
I've started them, but I've never really gotten far.
Yeah, so I played Fallout 3, I think, and then yeah, that's
Yeah, for me again, I think we've talked about this. Like, it's all about mechanics.
yep.
If systems are over mechanics, then sometimes I'm not as interested. But um, yeah, I guess yeah, an idea of where you're living, yeah, in a world where everything is run by the dead, in a way. Yeah, I don't know. Anything substantial. Necropunk.
Necropunk. That's pretty sweet. That's a sweet concept. I think you might have created a new niche.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It sounds like a band, like a punk band or some like garage. Yeah, necropunk.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, here we go. Necropunk is a steampunk-like subculture in science fiction that refers to a post-apocalyptic world in which there can be a lot of unknown scientific technologies, such as weird-looking vehicles, utopian architecture, artificial body parts, robots, androids, and even man-made photosynthesis.
so it's a
Okay,
little
so it is a thing.
yeah, so it's a little like the cyberpunk universe in a little in a sort of.
A cyberpunk and emo punk mix.
There you go.
I just made up another one. I know.
My personal favorite is the cassette punk. You know, the everything 80s, which is also
Oh
just
yeah.
cassette futurism. You know, things like Alien, the Alien universe is
Yes. That's a good one. Did you ever see the movie? And I don't remember the name. I think it's called It Follows.
yes, that was a fantastic movie. The one
And
with
it
the
wasn't it in there where they had that? Like the girl had a watch, but it kind of looked like weird technology.
I think you're
Yeah,
right.
it was. Yeah, yeah. They kind of lived in that kind of. If that's the right movie I'm thinking of.
It Follows. That's the one with the sort of sexually transmitted monster that haunts you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It just.
that was a terrifying horror movie. Um, and it was very
Yeah.
much in that old school genre of like the 80s slasher flick, which oh hey Coop. So yeah, I don't know if you saw, but the Destroy Gundam, while it was out here, when I did destroy some of the arms, it was kind of limited in its offensive capabilities, which was pretty cool. See, and
Yeah.
so
No, I wouldn't know. I guess, but just watching it, I mean, I'm now really convinced that I need to now budget in a PS3 because I want to get side stories and play Unicorn. Because that's the
oh
thing,
yeah,
Unicorn's a From Software game, and I like love Souls games.
I
So
had
it's
no
like,
idea that it was a From Software game.
yeah,
That makes me
and
want to pick it up. Despite you and I've had the conversation where it's like I'm not a huge Unicorn fan, but I mean, if there's a
yeah,
Souls-like Unicorn, then count me in.
and that's the thing. Like I've played it on an emulator, and it's fun, but there's too many little glitches where I can't focus and really have fun playing it because it's emulation's just not there yet on PS3.
I
Which
agree.
it's crazy because Sony has an opportunity there, although it might be costly. And apparently, with the new PlayStation Plus they're coming out with, the PlayStation Premium, that's going to be an option to play PS3 games, but they're streamed.
Yeah, you don't
They're
like
actually,
download them.
yeah, which it leads me again to believe that I think that PS3 architecture was so difficult to develop on that even their engineers can't backward compatible that stuff for PS4 or 5, and so they have to um, essentially yeah, just make it where it's streamable. But they then recently hired someone for game preservation because they didn't have that sort of part of Sony of PlayStation, so now they have someone that's in charge of that.
Like an
In charge of making sure
archivist.
yeah, the legacy title. So, and I think that's one thing Microsoft did that was awesome because there are so many Xbox and 360 games that you can now play on one.
Yeah, that's good.
Except for the Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
those.
yeah. I imagine it was only their more exclusive titles. I think that What I don't remember if Dynasty Warriors 1 was a Xbox exclusive. I do remember having it on Xbox.
Yeah, I have. I think I just have 2 and 3 on the 360. Yeah, I don't think I have the first one. Um, it was interesting because Microsoft already announced the last of the BC titles and they've already come out, and one of them is that I don't know if you played it, the Revenge of the Sith game that came out on.
Yes,
That was a great game.
that's great. Yeah, I loved it. I was never I was never disappointed with any of the prequel era Star Wars games for sure. The
Yeah,
Obi-Wan game was fun.
yeah.
What was
It was a
the
little different.
what was the I forget which game it was where you with the first appearance or well, the first playable appearance of Plo Koon. Was that Jedi Knights or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would be the Jedi Knight games unless it was Battlefront,
Hmm.
original Battlefront 2, unless they just added him in as like a skin for multiplayer because the Jedi Knight games take place after the prequel.
Got
So
you. Yeah, I don't remember what game it was, but it was like you could choose from 6 Jedi Masters to play as. There was Obi-Wan, Plo Koon, Mace Windu, and I forget the other 3. Stacey Tin, I think
also
was
was Jedi Power Battles.
that's the one.
Okay, that was a
Yeah.
good one too.
I'm telling you that era was fantastic. But
Yeah,
I think
no,
that
those
you're
games are
onto
fun.
something with that PS3 being difficult to develop on. I just got these, call them PTSD flashbacks from watching that. Were you a big Metal Gear Solid fan? You
Not a
know,
big fan, but I always kept up with it. I'd always try the games and I could never get into them. But
it's definitely an acquired taste for sure.
yep.
But yeah, when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out and having to sit through, an hour long install screen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was like the first, the PS3 has this amazing hardware that's the only thing that can run Metal Gear Solid 4 and I think we would probably laugh at that nowadays comparatively
Oh,
speaking.
that is funny because let's say when the CD-ROM games first came out, there was load times.
Yep.
There was a period where it seemed like the manufacturers got past that, especially with the GameCube. You can see how quickly GameCube games would load. But then the installs came next, where it's like, okay, there's data now that has to install. So then it became generation or two where you had to wait on the install. But
Yep.
then it got worse when the patches were a thing, where you go to put the disc in, and I remember on the Xbox there'd be like a discrepancy sometimes where you're downloading the patch but installing the data from the disc, and then the game didn't know what to do, and you had to like delete one. Um, and so now we kind of live in that time where, in a way, sometimes we have to wait for games to download, but I don't want to speak for everyone. Luckily, in the area I'm in, the internet's fast enough where I don't really have to wait
Yeah.
long.
Seriously. I mean, I think the longest I've had to wait for an update to download is like 40 minutes. And usually,
Yeah,
you just throw something else on in the background and, play a couple rounds of Rocket League or something. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, is that a go-to game for you, Rocket League?
It's definitely a good time killer, and and this is a lot of what inspires me behind my game design decisions and the sort of games that I want to make is that my wife and I typically nowadays I don't even play a lot of video games. I'll play Gundam games by myself, but if I'm gaming, I'm usually gaming with my wife. We're together on the couch.
Cool.
We love couch co-op games. We love some couch competitive games, so we'll throw on some Rocket League and go online and get whomped. But at least it's fun, right? We're doing something together, which is cool. Her favorite video game, she's got 2 favorite video games. Her number 1 is Breath of the Wild, and her number 2 is Mass Effect 2.
Oh,
She
okay.
hated Mass Effect 1 because of the gameplay, and then Mass
Yeah.
Effect 3 when we got through the story mode, she was like, "This is bullshit."
That's funny.
um, but yeah. So when I'm kind of making those types of gameplay decisions, I'm always like, is this something that my wife would enjoy, or can I make this a co-op experience sort of seamlessly and work that in. Um, and so, like you and I talked about before, it comes down to things like physics interactions and having an environment that you can have a lot of fun with.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
Breath of the Wild is a good example of like making a game that anyone can play, and it's not for kids, it's not for adults, and I think that's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with making games for a specific audience, but I think there's something special about a game. It reminds me of when, like, not naming any names, of when a musician, when people say they sell out, they start making music that might be more accessible.
right.
Accessibility, sometimes that there's two sides to that. There's the accessibility because I want everyone to enjoy my experience, or there's accessibility because this can get me more money. And so
Right.
sometimes it's curious, what is an artist going for? Maybe the money is okay because that allows them to then make the things they want to make. But Breath of
True.
the Wild is like an example of a game where there's no concessions made. It's just straight up good. And I would even say the same with Elden Ring. Even though it's a difficult game, probably kids could have a hard time, but I think they set you up where you can be successful if you're willing to keep trying.
That's
Um,
what I've come to understand about it, and like I said, I'm not familiar with it yet. It's sitting in my cart on the PSN. I'm like, do I pull the trigger yet? And Adam recommended Elden Ring. It's
and do you have a PS4 or
I do.
PS5?
PS4, yeah.
Is it a Pro?
No,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard it runs best on the PS4, Elden Ring, even compared to PC.
really.
Because they think they developed
They
it on
built down
PS4 as
to,
the base,
yeah.
because more people have access to that, apparently, even though PC, but it's
And
easier to develop that one.
that's one of the things that as far as like getting a PS5, I'm like I'm gonna wait at least 2 more years. Depending on after the baby comes, we'll see if I get a PS5.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know that struggle. But
Yeah.
I mean, when a new console first comes out, it's a total crapshoot of like whether you're gonna get any good games, let alone a game that really leverages the hardware. And so I think that we're still kind of in that phase with the PS5 where everybody's still kind of developing down to the PS4 anyway because they still want to be able to sell the games. So until we start getting some big PS5 exclusives, it's just not going to be worth it to sink into it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it's like that with the Xbox right now. The way they're developing is they are making it, the Xbox One is still the base console. Even the new
Mm-hmm.
Forza Motorsports, I think 8 or 9, whatever the next one is being developed with Xbox One as the base. And even with Halo Infinite on PC, there are some issues when you have settings turned up to max, because it's, especially when it comes to framing, because it has a certain frame pace for lower end hardware. When you start getting to higher end settings, the frames don't match up. Kind of interesting.
Man,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. The only thing on PS5 I think has been worth it for me is Demon Souls, the remake. It is better looking than any PC game.
Do you
And
have a
then
PS5?
yeah,
Oh,
hmm
awesome.
'cause that's just how obsessed I am with gaming. I mean, I have a PS5, I have a Series X, I have a 3080 Ti, and my PC.
Heck yeah,
Because that's
man.
just, I love gaming. So,
Yeah.
um, and sorry, the dog like made a weird noise. It's sleeping, so it's probably chasing something.
No
No,
worries.
but I I love, the thing I liked about the Series X is the Game Pass. I don't know if you're familiar with Game Pass.
No, no. Here, let me.
It's where it's like I'm paying, I forget, 15 a month or whatever, and you have a whole handful of games that you could play. New ones get released every month, and so it's easy to play games because on the Xbox you're not paying that much to try out games.
Yeah.
That's how I was able to try. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. It's a new game that just came out. It's like Zelda but Dark Souls. It's isometric. Um, wow, I bet someone in chat will know what that's called. And then there's what's the other? There's some other games. Sometimes some Japanese only games will come out on Game Pass randomly. And so that's why Sony now has their PlayStation Premium they're coming out with, that's supposed to be the same thing. Um, with a bunch of
Gotcha.
different, yeah. But did you hear that Microsoft made a deal with Epic Games. And are you familiar with Microsoft's xCloud?
No, no, I'm not
So
familiar with this.
that's their streaming platform where you can cloud stream the games.
So
You don't have
that's
to
their
download them.
Stadia, but not crap.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is they just made a deal with Epic where you can play Fortnite for free with xCloud. xCloud you normally have to pay for, but now Fortnite is free, so you can pretty much be on any device and through a Microsoft program play Fortnite. I think that's kind of smart for Microsoft and Epic to
Oh yeah,
do something like that because that's going to get a lot of people.
absolutely. And I mean, Fortnite is still insanely popular. I don't
You know?
see that going away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's different. It's shown me how far gaming has come because when I was in school, gaming was very specific to specific people. Maybe someone played Mario and they liked it, but if you talk about any other game, it's only be for people that were video game players.
Yeah.
Now Fortnite's more of the pastime that anybody would do. Any kid, will do with their friends. Oh, let's get on Fortnite.
And it's like you said, it's well, it's like that was Minecraft, right? Like three,
Yeah,
4 years ago.
that's
Um,
right.
yeah, I mean, I think that it goes back to that point you were making about accessibility, where accessibility doesn't necessarily mean handicapping the game and making it,
Right.
it's not about dumbing it down. It's just about making it available for people to, and that's, that's one of my main four sort of game design tenets to follow, right? Is the accessibility of making sure that it's available to anyone that wants to play it. You don't necessarily have to cater to specific audiences or say, make, I don't want to even introduce the whole easy mode debate about Souls games, but
Oh
like,
yeah.
but just making it, it's there if you want to play it. If you don't, it's not a big deal. But
Yeah. And
we're not going to limit you based on the hardware that you're using or based on any sort of arbitrary limitation.
yeah. And that's exactly what Elden Ring did. It introduced elements that are optional, but that would make it an easy mode. Like
Yeah,
there's more weapons at your disposal. You can summon things in. There's checkpoints everywhere. So they've just made it easier for someone to ch- figure out how to get past an obstacle, which is just like Zelda. That's what it is. You're trying to figure out. You're using the world and the environment to get past whatever the obstacle is.
yeah. I mean, I've made this argument before, and I'm going to throw it out to you. And this can sort of we'll see if this is our closing statements or if this kind of
Okay.
introduces a new debate. But my thesis, if you will, is that the original Legend of Zelda on the NES is the first Souls-like.
Oh, I've heard that, and I agree with it
Yeah,
because that's how the gameplay elements are. I mean, I would even think a lot of the games that are from software had to have taken elements from Zelda because that was kind of like the core blueprint of doing a game in that fashion.
yeah,
The sense of adventure,
right, and it's
like
like
it wants you to feel like you're on an adventure. Yeah,
if you go left in the world and you die, then the next time you respawn in the center, you're not going to go that way. You're going to go the other
yeah,
way because it's very much that same, like, you learn from what the game dishes out to you, which is, I think, it's fantastic. I suck at Souls games. Like I said, I like Bloodborne, but I'm terrible at it. I'm sure that
yeah.
when I do finally cave in and pull the trigger on Elden Ring, I'm going to be terrible at it, but I'm going to enjoy every second of it because, like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment. But yeah, I
Well,
think that.
it's funny you say that. I don't watch people play video games too often, but when I do, it tends to be Souls likes, usually from people that I know of them, and then they decide to play a Souls game. So I can see in their mind, and what I've noticed is if they just keep at it, a repetition, then something clicks at a certain point. And I think it has to do with your handle on the mechanics, to
Yeah,
where then your brain can subconsciously know the timing of any element in the world and be like, okay, I need to move here. And then that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
because you're now figuring, and then it makes you want to play it again. And I've noticed all ages people that will play, they can't play Souls games, then they try it and they push through, and then it clicks.
Yeah.
Um,
It
and
it
yeah,
makes
you should
for
do it, man. It'll change your life before the kid is born.
yeah, that's the key, right? Yeah, when she
Well,
comes, all bets are off.
well, it's oh she okay cool. I didn't know the specifics. That's nice. And that's August. I think I saw a post you might have made on Instagram or something.
Yeah, yeah. August is when we're expecting. So,
Oh,
you
congrats, man.
know,
That's awesome.
thank you,
But
thank you.
I remember when Dark Souls came out was around the time my daughter was born, and I remember there was no pause, and I was like, well, I can't play this game, and I just never did until recently. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
no, that would be frustrating for sure.
but no, it's great because I mean, it's different for everybody. I feel like there'll be a period where the baby will be in its little rocker, and you'll be next to the baby to make sure everything's okay, and they'll be sleeping a lot, and you'll just play games, and they'll just
Exactly.
pause the moment there's a cry, and then help out. And
Yeah, yeah, definitely no online game. But see, I'm not a big guy for like team deathmatch type games anyway.
yeah,
I've never been a big Fortnite guy, so something like a Souls game, especially like you said, if there is a pause option,
yeah,
that'll make all the difference for me. Um, well, sweet. Yeah, well, I don't want to hold you up too much longer.
yeah.
I'm probably gonna need to run and help the wife with dinner. Otherwise, I'll be
Cool.
in trouble. But I appreciate you hanging out on stream with me,
No, this is fun.
and checking out Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn, which is technically Dynasty Warriors Gundam 4 if you were to ignore
Ah,
Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, which
okay. That's why I never heard of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so everyone loved Dynasty Warriors Gundam 1 and 2, and then when 3 came out, it introduced a whole bunch of mechanics that people weren't really fond of. I do miss a lot of the mechanics from Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, where, you had these sort of relationship meters where, if you spend time with certain characters, you can develop bonds with them, and, you kind of get special perks for that. Like maybe you can awaken as a
Ah,
new type, or maybe you undergo cyber new type therapy and become a cyber new type.
okay,
There
that is
was,
cool.
yeah, those were some cool sort of role playing elements that they cut out for Dynasty Warriors Reborn that I was sad
But
about.
it didn't sound like a relationship. Can you like choose your Gundam waifu? Could I be like, yeah, M Machine, I'm gonna start using my points toward her.
There was indeed that sort of level of mechanic. I think it was almost like a tier list where it was like, here are your people
Huh.
that are neutral, here are the people that slightly dislike you, here are the people that really dislike you, and then you have the people that like love you. And so the way you would do it is like, every time you play a mission with Emma in it, if she's your enemy, don't kill her. You just accomplish the
Hmm.
mission without killing her, and she slightly likes you
Interesting.
more. Things like that, which I think was very cool. I love any type of gameplay mechanic where it's not just a choice that you make between like I want to do the good action or the bad action, but it's actually tied to your actions in the game. I think I mentioned
Yeah.
either on an old live stream or just to a friend. I would love to make a role playing game where you don't have dialogue choices, but your character's dialogue is dictated by the actions that you take in game. So if you're the type of guy that goes around the world like beating up villagers, then when you talk to other characters in game, you're going to be a jerk. But if you're the kind of
Hmm.
person that, takes on little quests and helps out the little guy, then you're going to be a nice person in your dialogue trees. And you don't get to choose that. It's just you have to behave that way.
In the dialogue, then, in that case, you might want it to represent you a certain way, so you might have to act a certain way in order to get that. See, that's brilliant. I don't think I've seen that in anything.
I can see it making a lot of people angry, but I think it'd be fun. It's a
No,
fun
that's a
social
good one.
experiment anyway.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Cool. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm gonna take off in the stream here, and again, thank you for joining me, Adam.
Yep.
I've
Having me.
got all the links to Gundam Explained are down in the description below, so please go check out that channel. Go check out the video today because, like I said, that's pretty much the one we've been waiting for as far as 8th MS team
Mm.
goes.
Oh yeah.
And then the podcast tomorrow, so do
Oh
tune
yeah,
in.
that's right.
Do tune
Podcast
in
for 7:30 Central. Yeah.
7:30 Central. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me, promoting my Patreon and locals page. Like I said, I wanted to give people options for how they want to support the channel if they so desire to. Again, it's not, there's no requirement to entry. The Discord is always going to be free for everyone to join. So, that don't feel like you're missing out on anything by not this is just a way of kind of showing that you appreciate the content and getting some little bonus perks thrown in. Like you said, it's just added value. And yeah, if I do not upload by next week, then I will be back on stream next Wednesday. Adam, did you have anything else for us before we sign off?
No, no, I think that's it. I'm just glad we got to chill and chat today and talk to everyone in the chat. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and hope you guys have a good rest of your evening and a good rest of your week. I will catch you all later.